So someone in the reference frame is going to measure t naught. Someone outside is going to measure t. So I read through the problem. It says, from Earth, it's determined it'll take 150 years. So that's the time Earth measures for a rocket to make a trip at 0.95 C. If you are on the rocket, how long would it take you to measure? So how long are you going to measure it on the rocket? So we got to ask ourselves, the 150, is that the proper time? Is that the time measured in the reference frame? Or is that measured by someone outside of it? Well, the reference frame is the rocket ship. So are the people on Earth on the rocket ship? No, they're on Earth. So the 150 is t, which means I'm solving for t naught. That's an easy mistake to make. That's the only thing that makes these problems difficult. And it's not the only thing. I shouldn't say that. But that's the main thing that makes these problems difficult, is getting t and t naught wrong. So remember, t naught, L naught, any of those knots, those are all measured in the reference frame with the thing. Okay? You have to be on the spaceship to measure t naught. Think of it this way. Who's going to measure the correct time on the spaceship? Someone on the spaceship. Someone on Earth isn't going to measure the right time. They're going to measure a dilated time. It's only someone on the spaceship who can measure the correct time. So you're on the spaceship. You measure the correct time. That's t naught. So now we're ready to set it up. So the equation is t equals t naught over square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared. Remember, we're not plugging in numbers for c. Don't plug in any number for c. So let us go ahead and plug in the numbers we're going to use. So t is 150. T naught I'm solving for. V is 0.95 C. And then that's over c squared. Okay, solving time. First thing you need to do for solving time is square the velocity. Now, the velocity is this whole thing. So you got to square 0.95 and you have to square c. So 0.95 squared is 0.9025 and c squared is c squared. The c's cancel and you're left with 0.925. So the equation looks like this now. Oh, 25, not 27. Yeah. Yes, might as well just make the whole thing right. There we go. So, subtract that from 1. 1 minus that number gives me 0.0975. Square root that number. And you get 0.3122. So 150 equals t naught over 0.312. As long as you're consistent. I am not rounding, which is why I'm going to 3 decimals. But you can go to 1, 2, or 3 is usually reasonable. All right, it's being divided. The opposite of dividing is multiplying, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 0.312. And you should get 46.8. So someone on Earth measures it to be 150 years, but you measure it to be 46.8. A couple of easy mistakes to make. Squaring C but not squaring 0.95. Okay, that'll be one mistake people make. Forgetting to subtract that number from 1. That's a mistake that's easy to make. Forgetting to square root that number. That's an easy mistake to make. Getting T and T not mixed up. There's a lot of little mistakes you can make. So be really careful because there's no partial credit. Which means if you get it wrong, it's wrong. So be really, really, really careful when you're solving it. I tried not to put too many gotcha answers. In other words, if you're wrong, if you don't get the right answer, you probably won't find the answer on there. You might, but probably not. I try not to do many, I don't think I put an answer where I forgot to square the 0.95. Because there's no partial credit, I've tried to do partial credit multiple choice before, and there's just not a good way to do that. Easily, at least. So anyway, so there won't, basically if it's wrong, then you did something wrong. You can figure it out. Okay. All right, let's look at one more. One more will be fun.